Okay, so for your first flip video, I want to show you exactly how to watch the video, give you a couple of tips and tricks, and how to take notes. So for the time being, don't write anything down. I just want to show you the introductory slide and kind of set up your notebook. So when I'm done with this slide, I'll say, okay, pause the video and write down what I just said. I'm always going to start out with the big red blazing Manti chemistry on top, and below that there'll be the title of this particular section of notes. And we're going to call this the Introduction to Chemistry. All right, so when I tell you to, in the upper right-hand corner of a piece of loose leaf paper that's hopefully in your 3-ring binder, go ahead and write the date. Always important to know the date that you took the notes. Okay? In the header of that same piece of loose leaf paper, go ahead and write Introduction to Chemistry. And then finally, below that, we start off the entire class, which is the definition of chemistry. I think it's important if we're taking a class to know exactly how that's defined. And when I give definitions and important terms, a lot of times I will bold those terms. You don't have the bolding ability when you're writing something else, so make sure you have a highlighter handy and highlight any essential words. We have a word wall in class. If the word is on the word wall, it should be highlighted in your notes. So chemistry is just the science that deals with the composition and properties of substances and various elementary forms of matter. I'm not the only chem teacher. It's also taught by Andy Evenson, Mr. Evenson, Mrs. Adi Meyer, and Mr. Schmidt. And I give you their room numbers below. If you come to them with a very focused, solid question and they have time, they're excellent resources to use if I am not available. All right, so if you've not already done so, go ahead and pause the video and write that material in your notes. The date, the title, and the definition for chemistry. So how do we take flipped notes? Well, the next thing you should write below the definition for chemistry is an A. I like a hierarchy. So write an A with a and parenthesis after it, and the words taking flipped notes. We want this to be on loose leaf paper in your binder. I'm going to allow you to use the binder on quizzes, so it's a nice thing to have. It's a nice resource. You want to start with the title and the date, like we did on the previous page, and what we're going to call the driving question. And I will illuminate the driving question in all of the future videos, so you'll see those a lot more detailed. You want to then follow along with the hierarchy. So what I mean by that, with the hierarchy, is indenting for specific lines. So first of all, the first thing that you should have underneath the definition for chemistry is the A, taking flip notes. You then have bulleted points under that on loose leaf paper in your binder. I then indent the next point. Binder can be used on quizzes. So that's what I mean by hierarchy. You've got the big concept, taking flip notes. We've got a distilled down concept, a secondary concept on loose leaf paper in your binder, and then a tertiary concept, which is even more indented. The binder can be used on quizzes. So that hierarchy is important. Whether you use bullets, numbers, Roman numerals, letters, that is completely up to you. Again, we'll evaluate those notes in class a little later on to see if your hierarchy does make sense. Okay. We want to highlight key terms. We've already mentioned that. And we want to leave space at the bottom or maybe on the side for questions. So I'm going to go through a flipped video. You obviously can't ask me questions at that time, so write your questions down. Those are questions that you can eventually ask on Edmodo. Now, utilize the flipped concept. Stop, pause, rewind the video if you need to. Reduce distractions. Get your cell phone out of there unless you're watching it on a cell phone. Don't be texting or Snapchatting or doing anything during that time. Okay, make sure you're just focusing on the video. And if you do have a question, it does help to post it on Edmodo. Last year, my students made a chemistry Facebook page, and they used that to ask questions back and forth. So post questions on there. Students, there's only one of me. There's 52 chemistry students. So the likelihood of one of them seeing it is higher than me seeing it. So ask them the question or post it on Edmodo. They'll see it, and maybe you get a faster response. Here's the question you have to ask. Do your notes allow you to confidently answer the driving question? If they do, you've taken good notes. If they don't, either you've taken poor notes or you still have questions that remain that you need to get answered. All right, so let's go on to the next thing. The class. What do we expect in the class? So we've talked about flip notes and how to take flip notes, and we'll practice taking flip notes. Now, what about the class? I don't go through the syllabus in the class because I think it just takes up time better used for doing other things. Here's what we expect in the class. First of all, you have a class manual. That's the white manual with the black binding. You bring that every single day. It is yours. You can write in it, and you'll get one for each quarter. There's a safety contract that I handed out the first day of class that has got to be turned in before lab number 2. So you have to get that in before that time. I'm setting a due date of that next Wednesday, okay? So that's going to be, let's see in my brain really quick, that's going to be the 7th, September 7th. So make sure it's in by then, and you get points towards your grade on the safety contract. This class is transcripted through LTC. What that means is if you sign the letter and you get a C or better during the semester of this course, you actually get collegiate credit. That credit is transferable to LTC, but it's also transferable to the UW system. That includes UW-Madison and Stevens Point and La Crosse. So by taking this class and earning a C or better, you're able to earn college credit at those colleges. That means that this class is a tough one. I push you guys. We got to get through a lot of material. We have to know it really, really well. So there's going to be a lot on you. There's going to be homework. If you're not a person that likes doing homework, maybe you want to think about taking something else. You got to see me. We got to figure out a method because this class requires a lot of independent learning. General rules in class, I will attack these when they come up. Cell phone policy and toilet time, I'm going to attack in class. Other things that, like safety procedures and ways to use our binders, so on and so forth, I will attack those general rules. The biggest thing, 2 words, respect and responsibility. If you're respectful to me and your peers and to yourself, and you're responsible enough to do your work, you're going to do just fine in this class. Materials needed, the composition notebook, really, really super important. You can't put a lab in anything else, so you need one of those. The second thing is a 3-ring binder. Okay, got to have a 3-ring binder to include all of your notes, all of your worksheets, and returned quizzes. Again, I will discuss toilet time. I don't want to do it on this video because it takes a little bit too long. It's just a technique that I use to try to keep you in class. Tech in the classroom. Cell phone policy, again, I will discuss that in the class. One thing I do want to mention here, though, bring your Chromebook every day. You don't know whether or not you're going to need it, so just bring it every day. Have it charged. That's the biggest thing. Charge this thing every single night, just like you charge your cell phone. We will be using Edmodo quite a bit, so having the access on the Chromebook is important, and we'll also use Google Drive. So if you do not have a Google Drive account, well, you do because you have a Google email address. We need to get familiar with Google Drive. Again, cell phone policies, we'll cover this in class, so maybe leave a little space under here for cell phones when we discuss. You can maybe put some bulleted points in there. The biggest thing is just be respectful and mindful and use the cell phone professionally if needed. One thing about cell phones, if you go to the bathroom or if you leave the class, you do need to leave your cell phone with me on my desk. That is your pass to leave, along with the pass that I sign out. During assessments, tests, and quizzes, I will be collecting cell phones, and then I'll hand them right back after the test. All right, so that's all we have for the first flip lesson. We're at about 9 minutes right now. You can expect flip lessons to be anywhere between 8 and 10 minutes for each lesson, and probably a little bit longer with your pausing and rewinding, so on and so forth. Okay, make sure that you have all the notes in your notebook. I will be checking these for your first grade in this class, so please make sure that that is done by Tuesday.